I'm just about to have some work done to the house. It shouldn't take any more than 15 days, and I thought I would document the process. In Thailand, it's very common to put a covering on external parts of the house to provide more dry storage area. The house next door has been done, the house over the back has been done. In fact, most houses in the development have had this work done already, and I'm one of the last. So the plan is to sort of cover this L-shaped area around the back and the side of the house, give it a roof. So that will give me more dry storage area, and it will also make the house a bit more secure. And one thing I want to do is to install a tumble dryer. Most of the year you don't need one in Thailand. It's so hot that clothes dry very quickly, but during the rainy season, when it just rains continuously for days, it can be a problem getting clothes dry. And at the moment there isn't really a convenient place to put a tumble dryer inside the house. So do a few things, and my wife wants a little external cooking area just here, and there's some paintwork to fix. I only got this painted like less than 2 years ago, but it starts to peel off, so that needs doing as well. The guys doing it have brought all the stuff they need. There's the guttering, and around the front is the metal. It's galvanized steel to protect against rust, and they've spray painted it, which is almost like a powder coating. It's quite a nice finish, and this should last for quite a long time. They've already done the front gate, which I've just had done. The original one was very, very rusty, and they've done a good job. So I'm quite happy for these guys to come back and do this extra work. And the name the Thais give this is gun sart. A gun is sort of to protect against, and sart is splashes, so it protects against splashes. My new gun sart is taking shape. I haven't done videos every day because there's not a lot to show on a daily basis, but this is after 7 days, and all the metal framework has now been completed. The painting's been completed, and yesterday they started to put in the guttering, which you can see up there, and today the plan is to finish the guttering. And they've ordered the roof panels, which I think are coming tomorrow or Saturday. They will install those, and then we'll press on with some other parts of the project. This back part will be filled with wooden boards, so I can't see my neighbours' houses. And the objective was to make this like a room. Even though it's outside, I wanted it to feel like an internal room. And once the gun sart is finished, they'll start working on the floor. When I moved into the house, there were no tiles here. It was just grass, which turned to mud with all the rain, and you just couldn't make use of the space because you couldn't walk on it. So we had tiles put down, but the guys that did it were working on other houses in the development. They were working full time, so they were doing this in the evenings, and they didn't do a particularly good job. One, they were tired after working all day, and two, it was dark. So even the bits that have survived don't look very good, and there are parts that are broken, such as here. So I'm going to have all of this replaced. That should be done next week. Normally the tiling will be quite a straightforward job, but I've got a water tank here, so the water tank will need moving temporarily. And because they're putting the tiles on the existing tiles, this pump and the associated pipe work will need to be raised slightly. But the guy that's doing the tiling, he can also do that work, and he said it won't be a problem. I've really fallen on my feet finding these particular workers. They've worked like demons the last week. They've worked 7 solid days, putting in a full day's work, no breaks. They really seem to enjoy their work, and they take pride in doing a good job. And I've had big problems in the past with Thai workers, in particular the guy that came in to do the tiles when we had a tile problem in the house. The tiles in the kitchen started to pop up, and we had to dismantle the entire kitchen. So we've got 2 young children and we had no kitchen, couldn't prepare food, couldn't wash dishes, couldn't do anything. And the guy would turn up, maybe do an hour's work and then just disappear. And then I'd come back a few days later. One day he turned up just to get his tools so he could go and do work elsewhere, and then he didn't reappear until several days later. We got fed up with it in the end, and my wife found a lady tiler who does work at her school. She came in and finished the job. She worked really hard as well. She came in at 9 o'clock every day, 4 days work, and just finished the job. And the tiler, sort of, after he disappeared, he came back after a few weeks to continue, and he found the job had been completed already. And it was him that was angry. It should have been us that were angry. It was in fact him. So I've had terrible problems in the past, and that's given me quite a bad impression of Thai workmen. But they're all different. You know, some are good and some are bad. And the ones we've got at the moment are absolutely fantastic. So I'm really pleased. Another good thing about these workers is that they're part of a team. So the guys at the moment do the metalwork and the roof. And when I told them I wanted the tiling done, they knew someone who could do that. That also involves some plumbing, but the guy can do that. And I want some painting done because the paintwork I'd done previously on this wall has all gone bad. So the roof should be finished by Saturday or Sunday. The tiler's coming in on Monday, and it should take him about 5 days to do the tiling. And then once that's done, they're just going to do some painting and tidy up. So really, it shouldn't be much more than another week. And I'm really pleased so far, and I'm really looking forward to getting the job completed. 3 men have just shown up. I wasn't sure why. These 3 guys work for the company that make the roof panels. And it turns out that the guys doing my Gunsart haven't got the equipment to cut the roof panels, so they are cut by the company that make them. So these representatives from that company have just turned up to take the measurements so that they can get the roof panels exactly the right size when they cut them. While we were waiting for the roof panels to be cut and delivered, the guys have started doing the gates. And earlier in the video I mentioned security, and there were 2 reasons for doing this. One was to create some more dry storage area, and the other was security. So there's going to be a gate here, as you can see. This part is all going to be closed off, so there's no access, and there's going to be a gate round the back. And as it stands at the moment, someone can just hop over the fence, or they don't even need to do that. They can open a gate that we leave unlocked and just walk around the back of the house. There's nothing here at the moment of value, but there might be in the future. And if they wanted to force entry into the house, the best place would be around the back of the house, because 1, they wouldn't be seen, and 2, the kitchen windows are quite weak. So I want to prevent anyone from getting access into this area. They did all the welding for this gate in situ today, and for the space over there, they've just made this frame, and they're going to take all these parts back to their workshop to finish them off and grind off the excess weld and paint them, because that's quite a dirty, noisy job. The design is going to be the same as the front gate, so everything will match. So in a day or 2, all of these parts will come back to be installed. The roof panels will arrive, they will be installed, and that will be the Gunsart basically finished. And then it will be a case of the tiler coming in to do the tiling around the back. So we're making really good progress. Regarding security, I'm under no illusions that if someone wants to get into your house, they can. They can bring bolt cutters and angle grinders and just cut away the metal. It's not too bad of a problem in this area. We've been here about 12 years. As far as I know, there have only been a couple of burglaries. But it's opportunistic thieves, normally like youngsters who just come in and they look for easy targets. They look for houses that are unoccupied or open windows or unlock cars. So all I'm really trying to do is just to make my house a bit more secure than the others. So if we get any opportunistic thieves, they're going to look away from this house and go and try and find somewhere that's a bit easier to get into. When this is finished, we're going to have all this extra dry storage space, yet there's still going to be this huge water tank here. So yesterday, the guy in charge of the project suggested to me that we move this to the other side of the house, but there are several reasons why I don't want to do that. I want to keep it in its current position, but I think it's too big. It's 1,500 litres. And when you talk to Thais about what size water tank you need, the formula they use is the number of people in the house times 200 litres. They say that one person uses 200 litres a day. So if there's 4 people here, 800 litres. But that calculation is a bit flawed anyway, because that relies on the water tank not being filled. And in reality, it's filled continuously. There's a float valve in the tank, and as soon as the water level drops, then more water goes into the tank. So I think it's a good idea to get a smaller tank and increase the amount of storage room here. And I'm thinking at the moment of 800 litres as opposed to this one, which is 1,500. I'm just going to talk to the plumber to verify that. But at the moment, that's what I think I'm going to do. There are several different types of roofing material for this job. There's a few examples on the houses across the road that have had this work done. I just wanted to keep this area as light an area as possible, so I wanted just a transparent material to let light in. My wife didn't. She says after a few years it accumulates algae and starts to go green and looks quite ugly. It's also quite noisy when it rains, and it creates a kind of greenhouse effect because it's transparent, and that's what you don't want in Thailand because it gets so hot at certain times of the year. There's so much sun, you don't want to be inside a greenhouse. So we're going for this material down here. It's like a very thin corrugated metal that's painted, and it has foam on the inside. And the foam does a few things. It cuts down noise when it's raining, and it also insulates. And in Thailand, you don't insulate to stop heat getting out, you insulate to prevent heat getting in, because it gets so hot outside that if you're in like a greenhouse, it's going to be unbearably hot inside. So this is what we're going to have. The external colour doesn't really matter, so we're not going to see it. I think ours is brown. And I thought that the colour of the foam would be better in white because that would reflect light and it would make it a bit lighter inside, and the dark colour will make it quite dark. So we're going to have this on most of the roof, and as a compromise, just this corner section up here is going to be transparent. So my wife didn't want it to be all transparent, but I wanted to get some light in, so just this corner section will be transparent, and that should hopefully make it a bit lighter. I haven't done an update on my Gunsart project for a few days, so here's a quick update. And I can't honestly remember what day this is, but it must be about 2 weeks now, or just over. So here's my new water tank. This one's 1,200 litres. The old one is 1,500, but it's very wide. It has a diameter of about 120 centimetres. This one's only 90 centimetres. It's quite tall, but that doesn't matter. Height isn't a problem. I just wanted to save floor space, so that should be going in next week. They finished the doors at the front, and yesterday they added the wood effect aluminium panels. Today they started to install this part here to close off access. They haven't put in the aluminium panels yet, but they will later today. And as we go through, the roof has now been finished. So most of it is this style with the foam backing, and there are just 3 clear sections in the corner, so that's some light in. That's all finished. And they've also finished the gate at the back. That's got the aluminium panels in already, so that's all finished. So now no one can get into this area. And what they'll be starting on next is putting some balls up at the back. My wife didn't think this was necessary, and it's true as far as function is concerned. We can still use the area with it looking like this, but it just looks awful. It's so ugly. You know, the people at the back have got different designs to the people at the side. It's all different. It's just a mess. It looked much better with just, you know, plain wooden balls blocking this all off. So we've bought the balls already and they've started to paint them. And the colour I've chosen is a very, very light sort of pastel green. The people doing the job originally planned to do it in like a wooden colour, like a traditional wood, but I just thought that would look quite dark and gloomy, and I want everything to be light and airy, so just light pastel colours. So yeah, it's coming on quite well. I think these guys are going to be about another 2 days, and then it'll be time for the tiler to come in to replace this horrible tiled floor, and he will also do the plumbing work to put in the new water tank. They've really made a mess of these tiles. They were bad to start off with, and now they're just even worse. It may be because they knew I was going to get them changed. If they knew that I was going to keep these tiles, they might have done a better job at protecting them, but now they're a real mess, so they really need replacing. So as I say, these guys are about another 2 days, and I think the tiler plumber will take about a week, so it should be ready in just over a week, and I'll give another update a bit later on. I haven't mentioned anything about cost yet, and the reason for that is that I don't yet know the total cost. Whenever they give you an estimate, it always takes longer than they say, and it's more expensive than they say. What they did tell me initially was that the basic gun start, the roof, the gates, the closed off sections will be 92,000. When I told them I wanted these back parts closed in, they said another 10,000, so it's just over 100,000. The tiler works out the tiling on a square metre basis. He told me 16,000 for the tiling and 3,000 to do the plumbing work, changing the water tanks. So that's about 120,000. When the builders were doing their stuff, they found some bits and pieces that needed doing, and there were also a few misunderstandings. How they thought I wanted it done wasn't how I wanted it done, and how I want it done will be a bit more expensive. So they're going to add on some money for that. The water tank was just over 5,000, and things like paint and other things I needed to buy. So at the moment I'm figuring on about 130 to 140,000. But before they'd started, I'd set myself a budget of 200,000. So whatever it comes into eventually will be a lot less than the 200,000 that I'd estimated. They've done a fantastic job. I've been really pleased with how they've done the work. They've done everything exactly how I wanted, and they're so meticulous. There are things now that they want to go over again because they're not quite right, and these are things that I haven't even noticed. They just want to do it for their own satisfaction and to keep their customers happy. So they're fantastic workers, and it's been a really enjoyable project so far, and I'm just hoping for a happy conclusion, which should be sometime next week. They've almost finished the cladding, so here's an example of what it looked like before, and here's an example of afterwards, and as you can see, it's much better. And I often have these disagreements with my wife. A lot of Thais, they're just so obsessed with money, they won't spend money unless it's absolutely essential. This wasn't essential, but without the cladding, it just looks a mess. So I wanted it done, and I'm really pleased we got it done. What they're going to do is to fill these screw holes and paint them so that we won't see the screw heads. So when it's finished, it should look really nice. This isn't wood. I think it's called fibre cement board or something. It's got different brand names in different places. I think it's made with wood chips and cement. It looks like wood, but it's a lot more durable. It's resistant to water, resistant to humidity, resistant to termites, and it's quite a popular building material in Thailand. The old water tank's now out, and here is the old one and the new one together to give you an idea of how much space I'll be saving. And today's been quite an interesting day. The gun site is basically finished. There have been 3 guys working on it. 2 have now gone, and there's just one remaining who's doing some painting and applying the finishing touches. The old tank and the pump came out today so that they can lay tiles in this section. And that gives us a bit of a problem because until the new tank is installed, we won't have any water. What we have here are 2 pipes. On the left, that's the mains water coming in, and on the right is the feed into the house. And the quickest temporary solution would have been just to join those 2 pipes to feed mains water straight into the house. The problem with that is that sometimes the pressure of the mains water is so low that we can't turn on taps upstairs. So the temporary solution is to add these pipes, and they've installed the pump around the corner so that we still have pumped water. So what they're going to start tomorrow is the tiling of this area, and once that's finished they'll then install the new tank and put the pump back as it was before and remove all this temporary piping. And once it's finished in this section, they'll be ready to retile this section. The tiling's now been finished. I was hoping to get some footage of the guys working, or maybe even a time lapse, but it's been very difficult. If I try to do that, I just get in their way, so I've kept out of their way. And once again, they've done a really great job. I was really lucky to have stumbled across this group of guys, considering all the problems I've had in the past with Thai tradesmen. These guys have done brilliantly. They've worked very quickly. They haven't let me down. They've turned up when they said they would, and they've done really good work. So the reason I wanted to get it retiled was because the previous tiles were looking pretty ugly. They were broken and cracked, and also because the level was a lot lower. So this pipe and this cover previously were above the level of the tiles and easy to trip over. So now they're all flush. Everything is on the same level. And today there's a plumber coming to plumb in the new water tank, which you can see up there in the distance. That's going to go here. And tomorrow there's an electrician coming in to put lights up around the back of the house. Once all that is done, I'm going to have a little counter built here with a gas hob, which is where my wife will cook her strong smelling food. One of the guys who did the roof is coming back to paint this wall. I'll do it myself, but it needs preparation as well. It needs skimming, and I'm not very good at that sort of thing. So he's going to do the wall. And they're also going to make some metal covers to cover up these 2 holes here. There was a concrete cover here and a plastic one here. The plastic one now is just unusable, and the concrete one looked pretty ugly. So we're going to have 2 nice shiny metal covers. Yesterday, fitting the new water tank was the worst day of the project so far. It was quite a stressful day actually. The guy who's in charge turned up about 9 o'clock and said the plumber's just about to arrive. He didn't arrive until about an hour and a half later. When he did arrive, he arrived with 2 young lads who I guess are learning the trade and helping him. Anyway, he had to go and buy a few bets, and while he was gone, one of these young lads decided to do everything himself, which I wasn't very happy about. You know, I was sort of paying good money and I wanted the plumber to do it. And he was hurrying, you know, he was just like rushing everything as if he was in a competition to see how fast he could do things. And these pipes down here, they should all be, you know, in line of vertical, horizontal, at right angles. Some of them are not because of the way he works. There's a lot of flex in these PVC pipes, so you can get away with it. It still works, but I'm not very happy with how it looks. And checking this morning, there are 3 places where there are small water leaks. So when the guy in charge arrives today, I'm going to have a word with him and tell him I'm not very happy. Also, the original tank had this water level cutout switch at the top. So there's a couple of floats in the tank attached to string, and when the water level gets so low, it operates a switch which cuts power to the motor in the pump. And I wanted them to fit this on the new tank, and they just didn't understand the concept. They'd never seen one of these before, and they just couldn't understand what I was talking about. And every time I talked about water level, they thought I was talking about the float valve, which has a completely different function. These guys all speak the Southern Thai dialect, which I can hardly understand, and they don't understand the Central dialect. And if they do understand the Central dialect, they don't understand it when it's spoken by a foreigner. Anyway, they got it all done, and there was no water pressure. There was insufficient water pressure, very low water pressure upstairs. You know, the water was hardly coming out of the tap. And you could tell by looking at the pressure gauge, it was too low. And the motor on the pump just kept going continuously, trying to get pressure, wouldn't stop. And they couldn't work it out at first. Then they realised that it actually needs a check valve, which is here, so that the water only flows one way. Now, if the same guy had taken the old one apart who put the new one together, he would have realised, but there was different people, and they threw all the old bits away, and so there was no reference. Anyway, so that took a long time to fix. We eventually got it done, and I thought it was all okay. And this morning I found these 3 small water leaks. So that's something that needs doing again. And what's the time now? The time is almost 10:30 now, and the electrician is supposed to be coming to put lights up, and he still hasn't arrived. So yeah, the project started off going really well up until the tiling, and now there's a few problems. It's been about a week since my last update. The workers got so far and went off to do other things, and then they're coming back again. I got the lights up, they look okay and they work. There's a few things I'm a bit concerned about. The guy has put all of the lights and the additional power sockets on the same circuit. I think they should be on separate circuits. And he's taken the power from a junction box up here. This is for the extractor hood in the kitchen. So he's just taken a spur, and I don't believe the power socket should be on a spur. I think they should be an extension of the ring main inside the house. But this is fairly typical for Thailand. The guys doing this sort of work don't tend to have much formal education. They learn to do something and do it, and what they do works, but they don't really have any deep knowledge. Anyway, today they started work on the counter. This is where we're going to have a gas hob, so my wife can do some cooking out here. And the guy that did the tiles is doing this, and he's pretty good actually. He did a good job on the tiles. He's made good progress today. He's not coming back tomorrow. He's going to let the cement dry. He's going to come back the day after. There's been quite a lot of project creep in terms of time and cost. It's now into the second month and the expense keeps going up. I've had to buy doors for the front of this unit. They were about 4,000 baht. The gas hob itself was about 3,000, and the tank of gas was 2,500, and to get this work done is 17,000. So what started off looking like quite a cheap project is probably going to end up being quite close to 200,000 baht. At the end of this video, I'll go through all the individual costs and the total amount, but at the moment I'm not quite sure what that's going to be. The one remaining job is to get everything painted, and they haven't given us an estimate for that yet. The counter is now finished. The guy who did it was the same one who did the tiles, and he's really good. He does excellent work and he works really quickly. This took him just 3 days. The wife has used it already, so she's happy, and as all married men will know, there's nothing more important than keeping your wife happy. If she's not happy, life can get very miserable very quickly. Unfortunately, I've stumbled at the final hurdle. I thought that after all the big jobs were done, the final job, just giving it a lick of paint to tidy everything up, will be quite straightforward. But the guys that have been doing the work have just quoted me 25,000 baht. And I've had painting work done before, and that's quite expensive, and it's more than I want to pay. So I've declined their offer. And if it was just painting work, I'd do it myself. But some parts of the wall are in quite bad condition and need skim coating. And it's something I've never done before. I'm not very confident, and I think if I attempt to do it, I'm just going to make a mess of it. So I've just been scraping off the loose and peeling paint, and currently I'm looking around for someone who can help me with the skim coating and do it at a reasonable price. The husband of one of my wife's friends has kindly offered to help. He's doing some filling at the moment. He's also going to help with the rubbing down and painting. He's done various types of work. At the moment he's a Grab delivery driver. I've been told that he used to do some painting, but I've just found out that it was on oil rigs. So that painting was to protect the oil rigs from the weather rather than to have any aesthetic appeal. The painting by my wife's friend's husband has gone really well. When walls are this bad, it's 95% preparation and 5% painting. And I hate doing it because I find it so tediously boring. He used to work on oil rigs and spend entire days rubbing down paint, and he doesn't mind doing it at all. And when you get in the so-called professional painters, they just want to get the top coat on as soon as possible, collect their money, and then get on to the next job. So they won't do the necessary preparation. He spent a lot of time doing preparation, and it's turned out really well, so I'm very pleased with that. I also got some shelf units. Originally, I ordered units from Lazada, and when I looked at the 5-star reviews from Thais, they look really good, you know, all good quality, good design. However, when I looked at the 1-star reviews, there were quite a few reviews from Farangs, and it just shows what different values Thais and Farangs have. The Farangs said they were terrible quality, and if you had any problems, there was just zero customer service. So I cancelled the order with Lazada, and then I got these ones from IKEA. They were a lot more expensive, but at least with IKEA, you know you're getting some quality. And if there are problems, then IKEA will just replace them with no questions asked. The project is now just about complete. There's still painting equipment around because my painter has started to do the outside walls. I had everything done by a professional painter about 18 months ago, and it's all gone bad, so that was a complete waste of money. I actually ordered a tumble dryer last week, but it arrived damaged. I think the Thai couriers get the same training as airport luggage handlers, so that's gone back and I'm waiting for my money to be refunded. It suddenly dawned on me last week what the problem is with Thai houses, and a lot of the stuff I'm keeping here would normally be kept in a shed or a garage in Western countries, but Thai houses have neither. Thai property developers buy a piece of land, and then to maximise profits they build as many houses as they can, which means the houses have no garden or very small gardens. So there's not enough room for a shed, and it's not normally a garage. The houses just have open carports. This project has fixed 3 significant problems. that of insufficient storage. So I'm gradually moving stuff out of the house and putting it here. The problem of cooking smells inside the house. My wife can cook here now. And also when I get another tumble dryer, there won't be any more problems getting laundry dry in the rainy season. So I'm really pleased with how it's gone. The only thing I'm not happy with is the electrical wiring with all these extra lights and power sockets all coming off this one spur. But I do know an electrician who knows what he's doing, so I'll be calling him fairly shortly to come and take a look and to make any alterations that he thinks are necessary. The only thing I haven't covered is how much money it's cost me to get this project done. So here is a breakdown of the cost.